Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Let's Play. Today, we're taking a look at a game that's been around for a long time and is currently entering another new edition. No, it's not another variation of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Today, we're going to be looking at Heavy Gear Blitz, the 2015 beta from their most recent foray into the Heavy Gear universe. And this was a free upgrade, basically, if you had the Blitz rules, and I played some Heavy Gear Blitz as it was around for the last 5 or 6 years. If you had the old rulebook through DriveThruRPG, they sent you a copy of the beta, which I thought was pretty cool. And I hadn't had a chance to look at it, but I do have 2 Heavy Gear armies, and I thought it'd be cool to give it a go. I love giant robot games when the giant robot miniatures are cool, so I am a minis first guy, and I think that Heavy Gear had some of the coolest designs for robots, certainly. And I'll give you a little bit of history on that. The first edition of the game actually was in a larger scale even than this one. I didn't play that version of the game, but friends of mine did. And it was called the Silhouette System, and it's gone through many iterations. In fact, DreamPod 9 was quite a large company at one point. They had a series of video games from Activision. Heavy Gear 2, I think, is probably one of the coolest giant robot simulators ever, and actually had the Black Talons, which was a coalition of Terra Novan forces fighting back in space against the Earth Expeditionary Forces, which were the bad guys, because Earth's the bad guy in this universe. And for its time was a pretty innovative and interesting game. It was kind of a first-person shooter driving a giant robot in space, had all kinds of cool stuff to do. There was even a short-lived Heavy Gear TV show. It was a bit schlocky. It was about a kid who was basically arena piloting a gear and his adventures trying to be the greatest gear pilot ever. And it didn't have a lot to do with the politics and sort of wartime stuff in Heavy Gear, but more to do with, you know, being a Saturday morning cartoon where a little kid is learning to pilot a giant robot and fight it in the ring, with a lot less crying than other shows like Evangelion that did that. But it was super short-lived, and actually the original sort of incarnation of DreamPod 9 folded soon afterwards. The property was handed around a few times, and the company has existed sort of on the back burner and had several editions of the rules. But they continue to produce models. They're based in Montreal, Quebec, so they are, you know, a Canadian miniature company, which I think is pretty cool. And this is their sort of most recent offering. Now, the miniatures you're going to see are old. They are metal miniatures. A lot of the newer Heavy Gear miniatures, and especially this stuff, I think they did a crowdfunding thing just recently. I actually don't know anything about that really, because I just got this as a guy who bought the rules basically in PDF through DriveThruRPG. But I will look into it in the future. But I thought it'd be cool to dust off my Heavy Gear models. I got sent a free rulebook with some new rules that are actually significantly different than the old versions of the game, and give it a go. I'm going to teach Owen how to play it tomorrow with these same exact factions, so you can expect to see at least one more game of Heavy Gear to see if he likes it. I have tons of unpainted old metal miniatures too that I could get back into the game with. So if you're interested in Heavy Gear, I hope you enjoy this Let's Play. If you're interested in a giant robot game, the rules can be bought. Actually, I think they're still these beta might be free through DriveThruRPG, and the miniatures are pretty cool. So let's take a look at the forces, the table setup, and we'll get started. All right, so here we have the Heavy Gear Blitz beta rules from 2015 in all their glory, all 188 pages of them. It's a pretty dense rulebook. Now, let me tell you, this is I would say the writers of this game attempting to make this game simpler and more digestible. One thing I will say about Heavy Gear is that every past edition of Heavy Gear has been fairly it's a dense game. It's like comparing a game like Necromunda to a game like Infinity. The things they have in common: model count, table setup, and sort of like the look of the game. But when it comes to density of rules, this is more of an Infinity than it is of a Necromunda. With that being said, this is a more streamlined version. Major changes I can tell you about. Army selection is way more fluid. I found the army selection to be really intuitive. And the basic dice mechanics are pretty simple. The game uses handfuls of D6s and a basic stat line. So that's the name of the model. That's its point value, so it's threat value in points. This is the squads that it can be used in. This is what I thought was kind of neat. So just every model, these are the squads you can take that model in. So in a general purpose squad, you can have 0 to however many. In a strike squad, 0 to however many. In a fire support squad, 0 to however many. And in a, what's that one, DG? I don't remember what DG stands for. Something squad, not support. I don't remember what DG stands for, but I think it says it's a duelist? maybe? I don't know. But you can have one of them in whatever DG stands for. Then there's their movement and their type. So their movement rating, they move 5 inches. And their walkers, which gives them certain rules, basically. Their armor, which is what you reduce all damage by. Their damage capacity. Now, this split number here is their ablative damage. So the big number, the first number, is how much armor can get blown off them before they become critical. And then the second number is how many boxes of damage they have after they're critical. So, but if you do that total all in one go, they just get annihilated. They're just destroyed. So if you do 6 damage to a hunter, it's just dead. Whereas if you do 5 damage to a hunter, it becomes critical. It's easier to hit. It's harder to pilot, all that stuff. Then there's actions, number of things they can do per turn. Gun, which is their shooting ability. Pilot, which is their piloting their gear ability. There's one little guy like riding around in these giant robots. Electronic warfare, which is their ability to resist and make like electronic warfare attacks. And then all their weapons and stuff. It's all in acronyms just to save space here. So LAC stands for light autocannon. It's carried in its arm. It is a split fire 2, so you can divide up the dice between different targets. It has a light rocket pod, an anti-personnel grenade launcher. I don't know what an LPZ stands for, and then a light vibro blade, which is a melee weapon. And then traits are like its skills and stuff, and then type, of course, is what it is. So it could be a tank, it could be infantry. In this case, most things in the game are going to be gears, and all I'm using today is gears. And then you got a weapon profile. It's just the name of the weapon, what the code is, so you can identify them and stuff. The range. Now, the ranges are interesting here. So a light autocannon has a maximum range, the second from the split number, of 18 inches. But it also has an optimal range. So between 6 and 18 inches, you're not firing with any penalties. If you're firing inside of 6 inches, you're in suboptimal range, though. You have penalties to hit. Its penetration, which is its sort of like base ability to penetrate stuff, and then its traits, which is burst 1. It gets additional dice, basically. It gets 1 extra dice whenever it's shooting because of the burst. And so that's the basic concepts of like the stat lines and stuff. And then the dice mechanics. Dice mechanics are just adding and subtracting dice, basically. You're rolling handfuls of dice. And there's 2 kinds of rolls. There's unopposed tests, they're just called rolls. So an unopposed test, like for instance, if I need to make an electronic warfare test, you're always rolling 2 dice base, and then you pick the highest dice that you roll. And if you score that number, you get a success. So for the electronic warfare, I need a 6+. For each 6+ I roll, I get a single success. If you were trying to counter me with your electronic warfare, every success you get, then it would be an opposed roll. There can be things like every number of successes that you get cancels one of my success, stuff like that. But basically, that's how it works. If it's an opposed test, you roll your handful of dice, you pick the highest number as your first success. It has to be a success, hopefully. And then every success you get after that in your handful of dice adds 1 to the total. So for instance, if I was trying to shoot you with my gun, I get a 6 as one of my like 5 dice. And then every 4+ that I've rolled after that would add to that 6 to give me a running total. Your defense in this game would be your piloting skill. So if I'm trying to shoot you, you're rolling back at me with all your pluses and minuses of dice here against your piloting rating. And then we would compare totals when it was all said and done. And my total sort of like successes would be how much damage I do to you or how well I hit you or whatever. So some other general concepts, opposed and unopposed rolls. There's also timing and priority. In any case where order is important, unless stated otherwise, the active player, so the guy whose turn it is basically, would get to apply the effects. Rounding, you always round up. Unless it's distances, in which case you still use fractions. And specificity, the more specific a rule is, like if it like mentions something by name, it would override a general rule. Rerolls, you only reroll things once, pretty standard, measuring distances from base to base. And then distances between models. When measuring distance between models, measure the close edge of the first model's base, the close edge of someone else's base. I actually have some I mentioned on illegal models. You need to use 1-inch hex bases. I actually rebased all my heavy gear minis on 30mm lip bases, so it's not a huge deal, but technically my bases are not the recommended bases for gears. My large gears, though, can be on 40mm round bases and are. So my big gears are okay, my small gears are not. Other important things, skill ratings. That's if you have a thing that you can do. There's usually a number that you're required to roll to success. So just like your gun skill or your piloting skill, your electronic warfare skill, sometimes your skills that you have will have a rating as well. The higher a number, of course, the worse your skill is because the harder it is to succeed in a roll. The lower the better. A skill with a rating of NA means that you get no bonuses from any secondary test dice. So effects that, basically say NA on them. If I was to do a opposed test any of my additional successes that I roll don't add to my total. I just take whatever the highest dice is. Area of effect, things that are touched by area of effect, any other model other than the target model, even partially within, a number of inches, the center of the target points, or temperature you can use it as a potential target, and is referred to as a secondary target. Arcs, typically your arcs are 180 degrees to the front, just like an infinity. Back arc, 180 degrees. And then you can also have left and right arcs, are the 180 degrees to the left and right side of the model. So basically divide into 4 90-degree arcs, and those are the primary arcs on stuff. I actually have all my arcs marked. I have some weird arcs marked too, but you can see that they're in different colors. Well, you can barely see, but they're in different colors. So when we're wondering where I'm actually going to be able to see people, the arcs will be marked. Now, there are some unlisted attributes as well. Detection range is a big one. So before I show you the armies, I'm going to show you some concepts. You can detect things you can't see in this game, and it's called having a lock. So let's say that this iguana right here is trying to shoot at this cheetah, northern cheetah. Right now they have lock, like let's say you're standing way back here, they have lock because you can draw a line from his silhouette, which is the volume of his base. For a gear, it's 2 inches tall and 1 inch wide, over to the volume of this fella right here. And that means that he can see him and he has lock. Now, you can actually obtain a lock on things you can't see. Even if there's no line in between their silhouettes, if you're within 12 inches, your sensors will tell you that something is there. Now, you can't necessarily shoot at it, but also sometimes you can. So let's say this guy was behind the woods over here, and this guy gets within 12 inches. He doesn't have lock when he's outside of 12 because that's his sensor range. But if he comes within 12 inches, he can actually lock onto this guy with his sensors and shoot at him. Because it's not a solid piece of terrain, he can fire. Now, he's got all kinds of penalties for trying to shoot through woods, but these two guys can actually engage in an active firefight. And actually, if something is less than an inch thick, if a piece of terrain is an inch thick, so like let's say there's a wall here, you can do that as well. So hiding out of line of sight doesn't necessarily protect you like it does in other games, because it's assumed that these gears are equipped with all kinds of crazy cool sensors that will tell you if there's another giant robot behind a wall. And those are some pretty important concepts. So everybody has a sensor range basically of 12 inches, and you also have a command range. So now the command range is your unit leader's ability to control your squad. If I was going to take this recon squad as an example, the Black Mamba here is in charge. He's got a command point because he's the combat group leader. A command point you can spend every turn for a reroll. We're not going to use orders for my first walkthrough here because this is just a let's play. I'm just going to do basic concepts and basically teach myself the game while you guys watch. And I'm going to get things wrong, but command points we will use, and they're allowed to give someone who's actively in his squad inside his command range, which is 6 inches. So basically think of that as your coherency. As long as you maintain a 6-inch command range from this guy, it's a bit like War Machine. Your guys are actively in range, and he can spend his command token, which refreshes every turn, to have somebody reroll a test. So it represents him basically leading the squad and pushing them to do better things. Now in a more advanced game, you can also issue orders, so you do things like coordinated fire and stuff, but those are sort of the two unwritten things. Your detection range of 12 inches, and your combat group leader, and if he's the unit commander, which is a free upgrade, he actually gets 2 of these points, which are kind of neat. And these are unmarked traits, but so you guys understood, combat group leader, everyone has a 6-inch coherency around them. That's your active communication range. And as long as you're inside that, they can spend their command points to let you reroll things. So from there, we jump right into a sequence of play, and it basically gives you some simple steps for playing the game. The first thing is the pregame. Determine a threat point value limit, a game size. Now, the recommended game size are between 100 and 500 threat. I'm playing 100 threat right here, which is the smallest sort of like recommended game size. And it gave me sort of a nice 2-squad game. I have got, you'll see the armies in a second, but I generated some army lists and I deployed terrain, and let's take a look at those right now. So I generated 2 army lists. Now these armies we'll use between Owen and I for the full game that you'll see get played later, after I've kind of taught myself the ropes. But the first one's the South. They give you a nice roster sheet for doing everything here on. And in the main rulebook, I printed these out separately so that we could refer to them during the game, so it's just easier to have them for both of us. You have a list of every model available to the South, and they're grouped by type. So Jaegers, which is German for hunter, is the basic sort of like gear for the southern armies, and unsurprisingly the northern one's called the hunter. So they're both technically hunters, which I just think is funny, just one's in German. But these guys can be equipped a bunch of different ways. So the base Jaeger, he's got a light autocannon, a light rocket pod, anti-personnel grenade launcher, a light hand grenade, and a light vibro blade, sorry. So a little sword for some melee. And I've got one, two. This is actually a paratroop rifle, but there's no rules for that anymore, so it's just going to count as light autocannon. 4 guys with light autocannons, and they are just regular Jaegers. Now, one has been upgraded to be a command Jaeger, so he's the combat group leader, which is this guy right here, and he's also the army commander. So the army commander is a free upgrade, and it gives him 2 command points instead of 1. And then I have 2 Jaeger gunners. They're just an extra point, basically, an extra threat. And that gives them a medium autocannon instead of a light autocannon. So these guys just have heavier guns. And that rounds out the squad. So that squad right there, I've also spent 2 extra points to make someone the second in command, the 2IC. And he actually is going to get a point as well. And that's, this guy over here, he'll have 2 skill points on him. 1 command point because he's the combat group leader, and 1 skill point as well. So one of these, we'll mark it with a different color actually. What can I mark it with? With an orange token here. So the orange token is going to be a skill point. A skill point is basically a command point you can only use yourself. If he ever dies, this guy takes over the squad, and these both become command points instead. Yeah, he's the XO, basically, so he's a backup for your army's leader. And then my other squad here is a recon squad, and they get some special rules too. They get a free move before the game starts and stuff, and it's got an iguana with a light pack gun. Pack guns are cool. They basically fold up. They're like the briefcase gun my CSU and my Infinity Neoterra armory has. I've got 2 regular iguanas here with light autocannons. Iguana gunners, rather. So this is the regular iguana. These have been upgraded to be gunners. So they have heavier guns. They have light rocket pods and light autocannons. He's just got a pack gun, which is a very light gun. And then I got a chatterbox iguana. He's the electronic warfare specialist. So a little like boom satellite thing here. What's cool about him is he can use special skills to make his buddies harder to hit. So you can do all kinds of things like electronic warfare. One of my favorite ones is you can make it harder for people to lock onto you, so you can do some active like deflection of people's sensors and stuff like that, and make this squad hard to hit. And then the combat group leader is a Black Mamba. It's a high performance gear, so it's on a bigger base. He's got a medium autocannon, and he's got a light rocket pod, medium rocket pod as well. And he's not just the combat group leader; he's also the XO, which means he'll take over if the Jaeger commander over here dies. So, story-wise, these southern guys obviously are invading the north because there's a lot of snow in the south, but a recon team and a GP squad have invaded this little settlement. And let's take a look at the northern stuff I've used to... I actually did buy these as another upgrade. These guys have all got medium hand grenades, and that rounds it up to 100 threat. So there's 100 threat of southern southern army, basically. I didn't use any of the special armies. There are sub-armies and stuff, too. I could make them Southern Republican Army, or militia, or Eastern Sun Emirates and stuff like that. You get restrictions and special rules and stuff and other opportunities, but for the purpose of a Let's Play, I just took them as like normal stuff. And here's the northern stuff. I've got a GP squad in this one as well. There is a headhunter, which is going to be this guy right here. He's the combat group leader. He's just got a single command point that he can spend on the squad. There are 2 assault hunters. These guys have light snub cannons. Think of them as like big shotgun railguns. These are some older hunter miniatures, but they hold up really nicely, actually, especially with the cool weapons. And then just a pair of regular hunters. They got light autocannons, light rocket pods. They're basically the analog of the Jaeger. They're not very different from them at all. But that gives me my basic GP squad. And then the cavalry, the air cavalry, in fact, this is my paratroop squad. So I thought I would take something different. I took a recon squad in one. I took these guys in the other. Not only are they paratroops, they're also veterans. I paid to make the whole squad veterans. These green markers represent skill points. And this guy is the second in command. He gets a second skill points. This guy right here is the actual CO of the company, and he'll have his Jaguar basically with 2 extra command points he can spend as well. But a skill point is, like I said earlier, it's a command point. You can use a reroll on an individual model, and they can spend them each turn. They refresh each turn, basically. So veterans is an upgrade you can take for a squad. It makes guys better. Plus the XOs over here. There is a hunter paratroop with a light autocannon. There are 2. These are... what is it? Grenadier Paracheetahs. They have light autocannons, grenade launchers and stuff. So they actually get the paratroop rifle, which is pretty cool. And there's 2. These are Jaguars. One is a Thunder Jaguar. He's the leader, the XO. And this one right here is just a regular Jaguar with the, he's the CO. This guy's got the XO upgrade. And that's it. So what these guys do is they don't deploy on the table. The recon guys get a free move. They get an option of a free move. They can do some outflanking stuff too, but I'll probably use the free move. These guys during the cleanup phase can get placed anywhere on the table and basically paratroop in. They have the airdroppable trait, which allows them to arrive as cavalry and fitting sort of for the narrative of this little game. So once you made your army list, you deploy your terrain. You can see I've deployed lots of terrain here on the mat. This is a mat from GameMat.eu. And all this scenery, I don't know if it's still available, but this was all the downloadable paper scenery that you can get off the DreamPod 9 website. Like the little sort of tents, the little containers and stuff, all super cool. And then I think these are Pegasus Hobbies, these are their buildings. And then the trees, I believe, are the Battlefield in the Box ones from Gale Force 9. But yeah, just some light scatter terrain, little settlement for guys to hide behind, but there is a step where you agree with your opponent what everything is and how it works. Buildings obviously be hard terrain, and then you'd have soft terrain for the woods and stuff. There are tons of sort of like generatable scenarios, but you actually get a basic scenario, meeting engagement, open play. And that's what we're going to use. It has a 6-turn length. This is for learning the game. You place 4 objective tokens, so stars in the map. So 1, 2, 3, 4. An objective is captured for friendly models within 6 of it, and no enemy models within 6 of the cleanup phase. Winning if one player controls 3 objectives in the second round of the cleanup phase or later, and they win. Otherwise, the players with the most objectives controlled at the end of round 6 wins. If tied for objectives, the player with the most actions remaining on the table is the winner. You use standard deployment, so up to a third of the table. Support, you allowed all support types and reserves, all reserve types. You can use all the special rules, basically. To determine deployment, you're going to make an opposed initiative test. So both the COs will roll 2 dice, plus 1 for their command ability, an extra d6. And they're looking to get the highest number, and then on top of that, any other successes will add to that number. So both unit commanders have a command rating of 3+, and plus 1 of their command dice with a base dice of 2. So the Northern Guard are rolling a 6 with no more successes. So they get a total of 6, while the South get a 6 and an additional success, which actually makes this a 7, and they win the initiative roll to choose deployment sides and deploy. So while the South could have forced the North to pick up deployment zone and then to deploy a unit first, they could have forced the North to do that. The South decided to grab it anyway and string out. Here is the command Jaeger in the middle, and we've got Jaeger, a Jaeger gunner, Jaeger gunner, and Jaeger, basically holding these 2 objectives. So they have to be within 6 of it and have no enemy there. They're going to try and go for an early grab. If they can get up to 3 of them, they can win on turn 2. Now, they don't know that there's paratroops coming down, but they will watch the North deploy a squad in response. Knowing they're outnumbered, the North has opted basically to hide in cover, and that's well sort of like in cover from the starting position of the Jaegers, the other GP squad, and of course threatening these 2 objectives. So both teams holding 2 objectives at the start of deployment. The South put down their sort of recon squad, and then initiative gets started for the first turn. So with both sides deployed, the recon team gets to use the Pathfinder special rule and make a move before the game starts. Now, that move is always at combat speed. When you activate a unit, you go model by model, they pick a stance, and there's 3 different stances to pick from. Combat speed, sort of like a normal move and shoot. Sorry, normal move and action. Moves are free, basically. Everyone gets 1 action, and a move is a free thing they do before, and they can do the action at any point along the move. The top speed allows them to make 2 moves, but they get bonuses to defense and penalties to shooting and other actions. Or braced, where they don't move, they get additional like bonuses against them for hitting, but they get bonuses to fire back. So you can brace yourself to shoot, you can move top speed and get defensive bonuses, or you can do something in between where you move at combat speed and move and fire. No matter what you pick, and I'll mark it with these old Blitz dice, it only lasts until the end of your activation, and then when you're passive, when you're not acting, you're always considered to be at combat speed. Gears get an unlimited amount of turns during their move, and iguanas can move 7 inches. So they're going to bank on getting first turn here and move up to try and blitz these guys. So he's done. Now it has to be at combat, so it's only ever going to be a single move. The Black Mamba, high performance gear though he is not quite as fast as an iguana, and he only goes 6 inches every turn. And the Chatterbox moves just like the regular iguanas and goes 7. Now they all want to stay within 6, which is the autocomms range of their boss here, which is the Black Mamba. And he is going to try and move out. And then he's got 5 more. He wants to be up, and he wants to be within 6 inches of all his buddies if he can be, so that he can try and protect them with his electronic warfare during their activation. With that free move out of the way, let's look at the basics of the turn. So the basics of the turn, there are 3 phases: setup, action, and cleanup. During setup, what you do is you put an action token on everybody so that you know whether they're activated or not. And you can spend these actions either actively or reactively. One of the things you can do is when someone shoots at you, you can try and shoot back with snapfire. You can try to evade. You can brace. You can say, we're in trouble. And that basically gives you a try and sort of an opposed test to try and stop people from hurting you. And so actions are pretty important. You need to mark who's got them and who doesn't. Now, most gears only have a single action. Some big things like striders and tanks have more than one. It lets them do more stuff even reactively rather than just actively during the turn. So with setup done, we're going to go into the action phase. We have to roll initiative, and the two players, the north and south, will go back and forth, alternate activating units, and acting and reacting, actively and passively. So blue again dice will be the north, white will be the south. It's an initiative test. So it's an opposed roll. High dice for the north, again these are on 3 pluses, is a 4. 1s and 2s will not give him any bonuses. High dice for the south is a 6 with 2 successes. It becomes an 8, and he crushes the initiative roll and gets to go first. Unsurprisingly, the south opts to activate their recon squad first, and he's going to start with the Black Mamba. Now he will choose to go at combat speed, so a normal move, so no need to mark it. And he gets to move 6 inches, which he will do up into cover. And then he will spend his action on a shot against this hunter. That's actually the head hunter, the leader of the squad. So piling up the dice, you get 2 base dice for your shots. That's the Black Mamba shooting. Now he has a gun skill of 3+, so every 3+ there will be a success adding to the highest roll. The defender is in combat posture, so no bonuses, but he is in cover. And what that's going to do is give him an extra defense dice. So the range is outside of 6, but within 18, just. And that means he is in optimal range. He gets no penalties then for shooting. He gets an extra dice because the autocannon has a burst rating of 1d6. And I believe that's it. Now actually, this headhunter does not have any cover from the position that the Black Mamba is shooting at him. So he's only going to get 2 blue defense dice here. Now he has a piloting skill of 4+, versus the gun skill of 3+ for the Black Mamba. The Black Mamba only gets a single success though, and that means that his high roll here is 3. The headhunter gets a actually no successes, so has a rating of 0 here, but high roll is 3 as well. 3 versus 3, and that's a tie with a margin of success of 0. Now, the Black Mamba, not super happy with that result, decides he is going to spend a command point this turn to re-roll that. He can use his skill point because he's the XO instead of his command point, saving that to use on somebody else later on. He's going to re-roll all of his dice to try and get a better result. So instead he gets a 6, and that gives him a margin of success of 3. Hunter has an armor of 6, a medium autocannon has a penetration of 7, so 3 plus the difference in armor, so 3 plus 7 is 10. It puts 4 damage on that poor headhunter, taking him from 5 down to 1 extra ablative wound. With 4 damage, the headhunter is not super happy, and very close to being exploded. The Chatterbox opts to go next, moving his 7 in behind the Black Mamba. And he will spend his action, he's also going combat speed, he will spend his action to do an electronic warfare action, which is sensor interference. It gives a bonus defense dice to all friendly unit models within 6. The Chatterbox has an electronic countermeasure rating of plus 1d6, so base dice 2, plus 1d6. He needs at least 1 4+. There is no counter to sensor interference, and he does get his 1 4+, so these guys will be jammed to try and shoot back. This iguana will move up and attempt to take a shot into this hunter right here. Now this hunter, not super excited about the fact that he's got someone shooting at him, is going to snap fire back as an action. Both these actions are considered to be resolved simultaneous. Now, the active player gets to choose what order these are resolved in, but they do all happen. You can't stop snap fire from occurring. So we'll start off with the defense dice for the Northern Guard of 2. There will be 3 attack dice with a deployable pack gun from the iguana. Now normally the deployable pack gun gets 2 extra dice, but it will not be, because it's actually in suboptimal range right now. 9 inches away is optimal range. So it's only be rolling 3 here. The iguana has a gun skill, I believe, of 4+. So the white dice needing 4s, the blue dice needing 4s as well. No successes and a piloting success of 4. Well, actually, sorry. No successes and a high roll of 3. No successes and a high roll of 4 for the hunter. Means that there's a margin of success of -1 and no attack occurs. Now, this fella right here is actually out of autocom's range, so he cannot use the reroll. The hunter now shooting back is just outside of the suboptimal range, so he gets an extra dice from the burst of his light autocannon. And the little iguana here is stuck in the open with only 2 defense dice. Is, however, within 6 of the chatterbox, so he's going to get a bonus defense dice from sensor interference going off. So 3 dice versus 3, gun skill of 4+, a piloting skill of 3+ for the iguana. So let's see what happens. High dice roll is going to be 5 with 1 success, so going to 6 for the iguana, and that will fail. 4 with no other successes for the hunter, and that means a negative margin of success and no hits. Next iguana moving up decides he's going to go and try and gun the headhunter down. So he's going to move his 7, 6 and 1. Headhunter opting to spend his action passively and shoot back rather than just get shot to death. So the iguana's autocannon getting 1 extra dice from its burst, no cover on the headhunter, giving him 2 defense dice. 4+ and 4+ for both the gun and the piloting rating. So high roll of 6 with 1 success becomes a 7 total. A high roll of 6 with 1 success becomes a 7 as well. And that's going to mean a tie. Now there is a chance on a 4+, that marginal damage is done. In the case of a 0, on a 1 to 3, the shot's ignored. On a 4 or more, something happens. On a 4 or more, a rating of 0 occurs. Marginal hit only ever inflicts 1 damage, but this is enough to put the headhunter at critical. So critically damaged models suffer -1 dice to basically all their tests, as all their armor's been blown away, and if they take any additional damage, it goes right to their systems. Now that won't get resolved for the shooting test against him. With a light autocannon, the headhunter gets 3 dice. The iguana gets 2 dice, but gets the bonus 1 defense dice from the chatterbox being nearby. So on a 4+, hitting with the headhunter, on a 3 or better, piloting from the iguana. So a 5 total becomes a 6 with an extra success here for the headhunter. A 4 total and no other successes means a margin of success of 2. 3 hull, that is enough to actually critically damage the iguana. The light autocannon having a penetration of 6 versus the armor of 5. Adding the margin of success of 2 is 3 damage. That is all the hull available. And this iguana is also critically damaged. The last iguana spending his action, well, moving up first, and then spending his action to now shoot the defenseless headhunter. With lock, this assault hunter decides he's going to try and kill him as well by snap firing with his it's a light snub cannon. Headhunter here with 2 base dice is actually rolling 1 less because of his critical damage. The iguana rolling 2 base dice +1 for the burst of its light autocannon. So let's see what the results are. We have a 4 as the highest result for the hunter, and then a 5 with no more successes for the iguana. That means a margin of success of 1, and then on top of that, there is the penetration of 6 of the light autocannon. 1 damage is just enough to destroy the headhunter. He becomes a wreck. Now there is no disadvantage for being out of formation with the combat group leader down, or this guy being too far away. It just means they can't be the subject of command points or orders. So they do get to operate normally, and now we have to resolve the snub cannon shot against the iguana. So 2 base dice for the snub cannon shot. Optimal range is between 3 and 12, so well within optimal range. The iguana getting 2 defense dice, +1 for the chatterbox, +1 for the cover intervening. Needing 3s for its piloting skill, needing 4s for the snub cannon. Now if this snub cannon lands, it will basically one-shot him. That being said, 6, 7, 8 for the 2 other successes is the total for the iguana. 4 is the highest for with no other successes for the headhunter, or the hunter rather, and the iguana is missed. Recon team activated, and the GP squad pretty badly mauled. It is over to the North player to activate a unit. Of course, this game he does use alternate activation. Now the Recon squad has done some pretty serious damage, but there are 2 unactivated models here who get to move and do actions. Even models who've done their actions can still move. Deciding discretion is a better part of valor. This hunter decides to back up. He can turn it an unlimited amount of times during his move. So he will go 5 inches back to here. With no combat group leader to worry about, the snub cannon's already fired, moves his 5 inches back around this corner to take cover. The next one decides to move over here and spend his action. He can actually move further than that. He will go to... No, he won't bother. He'll stay there, and he'll take a shot into this iguana. Having already activated, that iguana is only able to make a standard dodge, plus the extra dice for the sensor interference from the chatterbox, giving him 3 dice. 2 dice for the snub cannon, because it is within 12, which is optimal range. No cover on him. He is critically damaged. This hit, if it lands, will probably explode him. But the hunter only gets a 3 as its highest dice, a 5 for the iguana, going up to a 6 because this extra success means a margin of negative success and no hit. The last hunter, moving 5 inches over to take cover behind this corner, decides to also open up, but this time on the chatterbox. You can take cover behind your own models, and in this case the chatterbox is going to take cover behind the iguana, but if the attack misses you, it may hit unintentionally your friend you're taking cover behind. Autocannon getting 2 base dice, plus an additional dice for the burst of a autocannon. The chatterbox getting 1. Now, I do not know if he actually benefits from his own sensor interference. I would imagine he does, because he is in range of himself within 6 inches, and he will get an extra dice for being in cover behind the Black Mamba. If he does not successfully do this dodge, though, he may hit his own friend. So 4s and 3s for the piloting skill. Total of 2 for that northern gun, and a total of 5, 6, 7, 8 means a miss and potentially a hit against the Black Mamba. So the Mamba, also making a defense roll against that 2, has 2 base dice, plus the cover he's behind, plus the sensor interference, and cranks out a 3-4 total, and does beat it with a terrible roll, though. Realize this snub cannon shot against the damaged iguana, because he's critical, he would have had 1 less dice, would not have affected the result, though. That GP squad's scrambling. It moves over to the GP squad here. They get to make some moves. With 5-inch movement, they basically will consolidate around the terrain. The first one, the medium cannon, moving over here. He'll spend his action to try and take a shot at that snub cannon carrying hunter. 2 base dice, but he's at suboptimal range because he is far away. He's outside of 18 inches. The hunter getting 2 dice with no cover intervening because he's not within an inch. He's not controlling any of it. Both needing 4+ gun and pilot. And the hunter crushes his piloting roll, getting a total of 7 to the 1, and that will be a miss. Extra dice there, actually, just in case it matters. It did not, another 1 because of his burst rating. Knowing something is awry, the hunter cadre deciding to just move into formation and consolidate, giving themselves actions on hold. So he moves to here. He's going to hold his action, go on hold, so that he can hopefully react to anybody who comes by. The headhunter, sorry, not headhunter, the Jaeger command moving over to here. With his light autocannon, decides to also take a shot into that assault hunter. -1 dice for range, +1 for his burst, 2 dice to defend there, all needing 4 pluses. This time around, the hunter only getting a 4 with no other successes, and the Jaeger getting a 5, boosting to a 6 because of 1 other success, so a margin success of 2. Penetration of 6 against an armor of 6, that's going to be 2 points of damage. With a total of 5 hull, he's got 3 left. Scattering out this next hunter, or sorry, next Jaeger rather, moving back, deciding also to hold his action. The hunter with the medium autocannon, moving to this side of the building, and then spending his action to shoot the Jaeger yet, or sorry, the hunter yet again. Nice piloting test for the hunter. Autocannon getting 3, but again at suboptimal range, so down to 2. Rolling off, 4+ for everybody. Oh, a 6-7 to a 3. The unit leader, commanding officer, deciding to have him re-roll that for a command point. Getting a total of 6-7, but not good enough to beat the 7 here. There could be a marginal hit, though, on a 4+. Actually, sorry, that's only a 6. No marginal hit, it's a -1. The last Jaeger moving back to back with the commander and holding his action. Now in the cleanup phase, and that means reinforcements arrive. Airdroppable troops can be placed anywhere on the table, at least 6 inches away from the enemy, and all have to make a piloting test. If they roll a 1 as their final result for the piloting test, the model is simply destroyed. They just crash and die. Normally it would just be an immobilized, but if, yeah, you're being dropped from an airplane and you critically fail, guess what? You're dead. So the 2 cheetahs, needing at least 1 success here on a 3+, getting it, so landing fine, getting it and landing fine. The Jaguars on a 3+, getting it, landing fine. This one, landing fine. And the Hunter on a 4+ for his piloting roll, gets it with boxcars and lands just fine. Now, until these guys activate, so we're going to go right to the refresh up turn 2. Until these guys activate, the entire table is considered to have lock on them because they are falling out of the sky. And we'll start turn 2 by refreshing everyone's actions. And these fellows, of course, are currently paratrooping in, so they are landing. When they're passive, the whole table can see them. They can't claim any kind of cover. As soon as they activate, they're considered to hit the ground, and they become normal. Now at the top of turn 2, 2 objectives held by the south. Actually 3 technically held by the south right now. At the end of this turn, they're still holding them. The game is over. But this is a big initiative test. Both sides, both commanders, with a 3+ command rating and +1 dice their commands. Let's see who gets it. It's going to be 5, 6, 7 total for the north. And then 6, 7 as well. It's a tie. So you have to reroll initiative. 4, 5, 6 total for the south, and 5, 6, 7 total for the north. The north is going first. Their gambit paying off. They now have the backs of these guys to them, and that means a sneak assault with no snap fire possible. Grenadier cheetahs get to move 8 inches, and so not quite moving 8, but moving up. This one will move, and he's going to use his light grenade launcher on the chatterbox. Box gets 2 base dice +1 for the sensor interference, which is still happening. I got that wrong. The Chatterbox's sensor interference of 1, the 1 token down there, would have been removed during the cleanup phase, so it actually doesn't have it right now. And that means that the light grenade launcher is going to get 2 base dice, and that's it. It has a optimal range of over 3, which he still is. And that means he will be hitting on the 4+ that the Cheetah Grenadier has. The Chatterbox getting 2 defense dice, and that is all. Also on a 3+ instead of on a 4+. So 2 dice against 2 dice here. And that's going to be a 6, 7 total for the, what's this face for this fella? And a 6 total for the Iguana. So the Cheetah getting a 7 to 6 margin success 1. That's a grenade with a 3-inch blast. He can actually take a second shot because it has a split rating of 2 against someone else, but we'll resolve that in a second. So it is armor 5 for the Iguana, damage 7 for light grenade launcher, and a margin success of 1. So 3 damage. He's going to go right to critical. The blast rating is 3 inches, so every model within 3 inches will take 1 point of damage just automatically. It gets, if the armor is higher, in this case none of their armors are higher than the blast, it would get a save against it, but it has a blast rating of 2 dice, so it's 2 dice, and on a 4+ for each of these dice, it's 1 point of damage. So it's just going to kill this guy if it gets through, and it does. Double damage, 2 points left. That's going to slag this Iguana, who is already criticaled. 2 dice in the Black Mamba, takes 2 as well. Off some hull, and then this last Iguana takes 2 as well. So the second shot can be taken against anybody also in range. It'll be against this Iguana right here. Iguana getting 2 base dice. When you do your secondary shot, your number of dice is reduced by 1, so it's down to 1 dice now for that light grenade launcher. So 3+ to succeed for the Iguana, 4+ for the Cheetah, and that's a total of 3 against a total of 5, so it's going to miss. He's pretty happy with that, so the secondary Cheetah is going to activate. He's going to also move his 8. He's going to go 6 and 2 over to here. Spend his action to put a grenade into this Iguana. 2 dice again from light grenade launcher. He will split fire into the Chatterbox after this. The Iguana getting 2 defense dice, no cover in range. So 4+ here, 3+ here. That's going to be a 4, 5 with the 1 success, and a 3. The veteran ability to spend a skill point to reroll the dice, he will do so, and that's going to be a 6. That's a margin success of 1. So with a damage of 7 and armor of 5, that's 2 damage, taking total damage up to 4.
He is criticaled with 1 damage remaining. Sorry, actually, he's destroyed. Yeah, because 7 against 5, with a margin of 1 is 3 total damage. So 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 7, 8 against a total of 5. He had 2 damage on him already. He is a 3-2, taking the last point of hull and then 2 more points. He is slagged. 3-inch blast, both these guys on a 4+, taking damage. The Black Mamba takes none. And the Chatterbox takes 1. He has 1 damage left. With the split fire, the second grenade going into him. The Iguana getting 2 dice to pilot. 1 dice back. That's a 1 against a 6, no hits. The Jaguar moving in, going a grand total of, this is the Command Jaguar, his 6 to here. Firing his medium autocannon, he gets an additional dice for his burst. He's going to fire into the back of the Black Mamba. So that's 3 dice from that Jaguar, and then 2 defense dice for the Black Mamba. All of these are needing 3s. Grand total of 6 for the Mamba. 5, 6, 7 for the Jaguar. Margin of success of 1 and a damage of 6 against an armor of 6. Takes the damage on the Mamba up to 3, and he is almost crippled. The Hunter now moving up his 5, the Hunter Para rather, to here. Firing his light grenade launcher into the crippled Iguana. The Iguana only getting 1 defense dice right now. The Hunter getting 2 dice back. With the crippling. That's a 6 total though, but a 7 for the Hunter, who gets a bonus. And that's going to mean a hit with 1. No matter what, that will overkill and destroy this fella. And he is now laying down. And Blast will hit the Mamba. On a 4+, it will take damage. With a blast rating of 2. So 2 more damage. That takes him up to 4, 5 total, so he is crippled. 4-2, he has a damage on him as well. Checking split fire range, he's actually out of range to split fire into that other Iguana. Last Jaguar, moving up 6, taking a shot into this Iguana. Base dice +1 for the autocannon. Iguana getting 2 defense dice. That'll be a 7 total for the Iguana, and only a 5 for the autocannon. Spending his skill point, that Jaguar opts to reroll. Getting a 8 total. That's 1. Medium autocannons, damage 7. So 7, 8 total. Armor 5, 3 damage in the Iguana. It goes right to crippled. And with that, the paratroops moving in and decimating that recon squad. Knowing it's now or never, the Southern player activates the recon squad, starting with the Mamba moving into cover. Grand total of 6. Opting to split his fire and put some damage into the GP squad before it gets to activate. The snub cannon opting to fire back, while the Mamba takes a shot into the damaged snub cannon in the back. It's burst, but -1 because of the being crippled. The Assault Hunter getting 2 defense dice, +1 for being in cover. 4s for the blue dice. That'll be a 6 total. 3s for the white dice. That is a 5 total and a miss. This snub cannon firing back. Needing 4s. 1 defense dice right now because of no cover. Total of 4. Total of 5. Snub cannon lands. Snub cannon has damage of 8, and that is more than enough to destroy the Mamba. The final Iguana, moving his 7. Just to continue to contest. Decides to take a shot into this Hunter. This Hunter snap fire in return. Outside of 6, the deployable pack gun, only still getting 2 dice, but with split fire and bonus burst of 2. Inside 9, so that burst of 2, dropping down to 3 dice, needing 4s against this Hunter. This Hunter firing back with his burst of 3, but in this case just dodging to start off with. So forced to dodge, forced to hit. Grand total of 2. Grand total of 4. So missing completely the pack gun. Split firing over to here. That'll be 2 dice now, because it's in suboptimal range, and he is split firing, which is -1 dice. 2 dice to dodge. Additional die for being in the cover. Additional die for the cover being solid. So whoops, that's 4 dice on the blue, needing 4s. 2 dice on the white, needing 4s. That is a 4 total. Wow, that's terrible. And then a 5 total actually for the pack gun. Not a huge amount of damage, does put a damage point on that hunter. Shooting back now with the snap fire from him, he's going to get additional dice for burst. There is no cover in the way, so it is not blocked. So only 2 dice to dodge for the iguana. 3's here, 4's here. So 3, 4 total with the extra success. 5 total over here, however, so 1 hit. Light autocannons damage 6, armor, so damage 6 with the success of 1 is 7 total, armor 5, 2 damage in the iguana. That ends the GP squad's activation. It moves back over to the North deciding to just take matters in their own hands and activate this squad right here. Starting with this hunter, he gets to make a free move, but his action is already spent, so he will just move 5 inches over to here. Second hunter will move back along the wall 5 inches to gain lock on the iguana and spend his action to start shooting. Side of 6, so 2 dice space, plus 1 for the burst. The iguana dodging on 2 dice, plus 2 dice for the solid cover. 4s and 3s, combat stance for both. So it'll be 6, 7 total for the iguana, and then a grand total of only 3 with no additional bonuses for the hunter. Next snub cannon, simply making a move 5 inches to here. He'll actually go faster than that to go hide behind this. Reason for him to be coherency right now because his unit leader is dead. Moving 5 inches forward, the next assault hunter, he will take a shot into the Jaeger. That's right, like iguana. Base dice, no bonus dice, and then over here, 2 base dice plus 2 dice for being in the hard solid cover. Needing 3s, needing 4s. So that is a grand total of 5, 6, and 3. GP squad is now activated 8. Next GP squad activates. That's going to be a base move with this gunner of 5, moving up to here, just to snuggle to the corner, and then he's going to take some shots into that hunter. Base dice with the medium autocannon, plus 1 for its burst, for a total of 3. 2 base dice defensively for the hunter, plus 2 for the hard cover. All needing 4s, so that's going to be 6, 7 total for the medium autocannon, 5, 6 total for the dodge, so that'll be a margin success of 1. Damage 7 for medium autocannon, so 8 total, and then armor of 6 is 2 damage on the assault hunter. The command Jaeger moving up 5 to get into cover. Spending his action, he will take a shot into the command Jaguar over here. This dice, plus 1 burst, suboptimal range because it's over 18 within 36. 2 defense dice for the Jaguar, and that is all. 3s for the Jaguar, 4s for the light autocannon. That's a total of 7 for the Jaguar, and he will dodge the 4. This hunter turning around, taking cover behind this building, spending his action to shoot into that hunter. Base dice, inside optimal range of 18 inches, so 3. 2 and 2 for the cover for the hunter, needing 4s on both sides. 3 total for the hunter, 5 total for the Jaeger, and that's going to be a march success of 2. Damage 6, so 6, 8 total, armor 6, and that's going to be 2 more damage. Puts him at crippled. Actually, not quite crippled. It's 5-1, so 5 hull points and 1 critical system box. So he's actually 1 away from being crippled. In walks this fellow with the medium autocannon for exactly that reason, making his 5-inch move to this cover, and then spending his action to take some shots into that exact same fellow. Base dice, plus 1 for his burst. In defense, 2 base dice for that hunter, plus 2 for the hard cover. Everyone needing 4s yet again. Woo, 6, 7, 8 total for the hunter with the medium autocannon. And then 5, 6, 7, 8 again. So a marginal success. On a 4+, he'll do 1 point of damage. He does. So now he's crippled. And it's the final Jaeger moving forward with his light autocannon. Spending his action to take a shot. Base dice yet again. Extra 1 for burst. 2 base dice for that hunter. Extra 2 for the hard cover. Everyone needing 4s. That'll be a 5 total with these all missing. 6 and 7. Success for the medium autocannon. More than enough to do 1 damage, and that will destroy him. Final hunter, moving over to here, taking cover behind these crates. 5 inches, actually get him to here. Stay in command range. And then he'll take a shot into the Jaguar commander. So the commander's still in the open. He's still got his skill point left too. And he's got 2 base defense dice, but is in the open. 2 dice to shoot from that Jaeger. +1 for burst, -1 for being at suboptimal range outside of 18. 3s for the blue dice, 4s for the white dice. So that's a 5 total and a 3 total, and that's going to be a successful dodge. Ends round 2 with the South successfully holding 1-2 objectives, and the contesting of this one, because this iguana is still painfully alive. The North is currently holding 0 with their hunter down here, and this one being contested. They get to round 3. During the cleanup phase, all the statuses come off and everybody gains a new action. So all the orders refreshed. That puts us to a big initiative roll. Both commanders still alive. So 3 pluses and 3 command dice each. The South getting 6, 7, 8. The North getting 5. The iguana opting to move at top speed, so getting to make 2 moves. So 7 inches to here. And then 7 inches again. Putting him here. He then spends his action to attempt a shot with his pack gun. Oops. To there. Into this hunter. We're going to attempt to snap fire back. And to split his fire as well, he will fire into this fella, who will also attempt to fire back. The first hunter, pack gun, getting 4 dice with its burst of 2. That is over 9, so it's an optimal range. 2 defense dice plus 2 extra defense dice from the cover for this hunter. Needing 4s on both sides. So the North getting a total of 6, 7, 8. The South getting a grand total of 5, 6 is a miss. Second round of shots in suboptimal range, and unfortunately, what should we call it? -1 shot for being a split fire shot. Bring it down to 2 dice for the iguana. 2 defense dice though, because he is in the open right now for that hunter on 4s. Getting a 6 total, and no other success. Only a 4 total for the iguana. It will totally miss. Back. That'll be 2 rather base dice for him, +1 for burst. And then 2 base dice for the iguana, +2 for being in the hard cover. 3s and 4s for the North. The North only getting a total of 3, whereas the South gets a total of 7 and dodges it. Snub cannon in optimal range, still only gets 2 dice against the 4 dodge dice the iguana has. Actually 5 rather, sorry I got that wrong because he moved at top speed. Been rolling even less dice to hit with, I just realized because he's -1. So he's been hitting with almost nothing. And yeah, with double 2s, that's not going to hit a total of 7. The sacrificial iguana currently holding up the joint. The North opts to activate this cadre. This guy will move at the double, just to go and score here. His friend doing much the same, moving at top speed to go grab, and again, jam up the objective here. Last hunter, somebody moving combat speed to gain a lock rather. Line of fire onto the iguana and just shoot. Base dice +1 for burst with a light autocannon. 2 base defense dice for that iguana. No bonus for cover though, because now he's in the open. That'll be a 5, 6 total because the extra success for that iguana. And then a 6 total as well. See if it's a marginal hit. On a 4+, it'll do 1 point. And it does. 3 and cripples. And with that, I'm feeling comfortable enough to teach the game to Owen tomorrow. So let's look at the state of play. There are 2 units left to activate in turn 3. The paratrooper squad, although they did manage to wipe out the recon team almost to a man, 1 man left. They did not prevent the GP squad from being pretty badly savaged. The commander down, 2 hunters and a hunter assault still remaining. There is still a full strength and undamaged GP squad of 6 guys over here, currently holding 2 objectives. So I think this game's still in the balance. I think it's been interesting to see what the alpha strike of a recon team can do, as well as the raw damage output of a paratrooper squad. What is interesting though is this paratrooper squad is in a poor position to contest any objectives at this point, and still needs to clean off at least 1 more iguana before they can claim. So I think this is still anyone's game at this point. There is a fairly equal number of models alive on either side. There are 8 models alive on the south side, to a grand total of 7 left. Sorry, 7 left on the south side, to a grand total of 8 left on the north side. So I think it's actually still fairly evenly matched. It's been interesting so far, but I am comfortable now enough with the rules, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this and seeing what would happen. So it would go 6 turns at this point, and the person holding the most objectives would win. I'm thinking that yeah, it could be anyone's game. To see how this game plays out in full, stay tuned to the next episode, which will be next week. You get to see me and Owen play this game to its conclusion. So I'm going to give you some thoughts on the game, and we'll wrap this up.
All right, so there you have it, the current edition, 2015 edition, beta rules of Heavy Gear Blitz. So my initial thoughts, one, yes, the game is easier to calculate. I did find the ranged attacks and the attack and dodge modifiers pretty simple overall. The system reminds me a little bit of the confrontation attack dice, defense dice system. And once I wrapped my mind around what everything was on the table and where it was, and I got some of the weapon stats memorized, because there's not a lot of actual different weapons being carried. Autocannons are all the same pretty much as far as range and threat goes. Everybody's carrying autocannons. I tried out the grenade launcher just to see how the blast weapons would work. I tried the snub cannon to give some different stuff. The one thing I didn't get to try is the rocket pods, and I think that might be an interesting thing for longer ranged attacks, because they tend to be something that's optimal a bit further out, but they do have a fairly high damage output. They just don't throw as many dice as an autocannon does. So it does seem to be about stacking dice into your dice pool so that you can roll the best possible result. The high performance gears, the Black Mamba and the Jaguars, definitely an ranged advantage with their 3+ gun skill. They can really put out some damage. So high dice pool guns on guys with 3+ dice skill seems to be your best way to get a really big margin of success and do a whole bunch of damage. And after a couple turns, in my head it was flowing. I could start to visualize in my head how defensy or offensy guys were. That seems to be the hardest thing, and why I like to do a dry run of a game like this, to try and wrap my head around the rules, is just to be able to sort of visualize what all the modifiers are in play, especially when I'm calling it out to you guys in a video. So like I said, on top of that, my other impression is that the army composition's been loosened up a whole bunch. There was a lot of, in previous editions of Blitz at least, upgrading and downgrading. You would start with X number of guys. You could add or subtract X number of guys. It was really math heavy as far as like calculating your threat value and what you're going to have in a squad. Now it's just how many actions you want to have in a squad. Pick that many actions worth of models. You can have between 4 and 6 actions worth of guys in any given squad, and most gears have a single action unless they're big fire support gears and they have like 2 or more. Attaching support stuff like tanks to squads too. So like for instance, that GP squad could have like an Owler heavy tank attached to it. It's considered that the unit leader of that GP squad is the unit leader of that Owler, so it can benefit from all the command upgrades and stuff like that, and it can roll around and do things. Likewise, I had a Naga Strider, a Sagittarius I could add, which are big walkers. Striders are what they're called in Heavy Gear. That could be added to my Southern squads as well. So other things to try out. So once again, you can get the rules through Drive-Thru RPG. I'm not sure if the beta is free for all. It might be, might not be, but you can check the link below and check it out if you're interested. And of course, DreamPod 9 carrying all these miniatures and doing lots of resculpts and stuff too. So I don't really know what's going on with the current edition of the game. If you guys want to educate me, you can tell me in the comments if you are Heavy Gear players. Obviously, you're going to point out things I did wrong too. Remember, this is a Let's Play. This is me wrapping my head around the rules and you guys coming around for the ride. So I hope you enjoyed that. A look at Heavy Gear, giant robots duking it out on Terra Nova, which is a colony world in the far, far future, which is under threat from Earth, because Earth is the bad guys and the colonials are the good guys. I hope you enjoyed that. You'll see more of this next week when I teach Owen how to play. Until then, I'm Ash. Have a good one.